does not appear to stop promoting anytime soon. The Signal group chat incident, where Jeffrey Goldberg of The Atlantic was mistakenly added to the chat concerning U.S. plans to bomb Houthi rebels in Yemen last weekend.
And then Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth now taking plenty of heat for the blunder, with National Security Advisor Mike Waltz also coming under fire. But Hegseth is the one who's come under the most scrutiny if you're following the tumultuous confirmation process he had to go through. Plenty of criticism from detractors or defectors who did not feel he was qualified for the job in the first place. They're capitalizing on that now. We'll bring in now Florida Congressman Brian Mast, who also chairs the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, as always, thank you for your service, and we do appreciate you coming on. So the Trump administration is calling this, as you well know, a simple mistake, which had no impact on the effectiveness of this strike. But you've heard Democrats shouting from the rooftops. If you change the channel right now to any other news station, news network, I promise you it's on the Signal story. And they're calling for heads to roll. They're calling for someone to be fired, if it's Hegseth or if it's Waltz. What are your comments on this? I mean, obviously there are concerns of how this blunder, this accident, as it was called, happened in the first place, and how do you prevent it later? But again, these calls for Waltz to go as NSA or Hegseth to go as Defense Secretary, where do you stand with that?
This is the only thing Democrats have, is to try and call for somebody's head over what, let's use other parlance, a nothing burger. This is a nothing burger. Let's make a comparison. I'm not huge on whataboutisms, but Joe Biden literally walked 13 American heroes to their death between January and August of 2021. And the whole world watched it taking place, warned him that it was going to take place. And the mainstream media just ignored it and went along with him and said everything was okay and no mistakes were made and let him have a pass on all of this. The operational tempo of what took place here resulted in no catastrophic failures at all to United States military personnel, an entirely ruthless and successful operation where a mistake was also made but didn't have any repercussions on the instrument on the mission. That is a nothing burger. And if that's the only thing that they can try to hit this administration on, then it shows you how damn well they're doing.
Wow. It is interesting to remember those 13 service members and how little coverage that they really did receive on other networks. Just going forward, and I know sometimes we can evaluate what was done and what could be done better. Is using Signal or other messaging platforms of that nature something that this administration should do, or is there an alternative that would better serve the American public?
The answer is yes and no, right? And I don't like getting into the semantics of things, and that's the argument of what it is. But this is an issue of semantics, right? Because I can tell you military experience. I've planned many military operations along with those soldiers to my left and right, but I have literally never done it inside of a SCIF where you are designated to do classified information. That's not the way that it took place. So these operational plannings that take place, they're going to go as you're walking down the hallway of the Pentagon or as you're in a different room in the Oval Office. Some of it's over secure messaging. This is secure. That's the intent of what Signal is, to be secure. It's not classified. It doesn't rise to that level. If something is classified, it shouldn't be on there, but it is meant to be secure communication. And there are places where you're just having secure communication, not necessarily a classified conversation. And I think that's the line that has to be drawn there. And that's the line that is being drawn.
So you have full confidence in Waltz in Hegseth moving forward?
Let me speak about Michael Waltz, number one,
sure,
and say the same thing about Pete Hegseth. For Michael Waltz, there is not one person that I could pick out on this planet that is better suited to be National Security Advisor. He prepared himself to do this job over all of his time in Congress, all of the committees that he sat on, the work that he's done in his time in the military. And I would say the same thing about Secretary Hegseth and his ability to go out there and get the mission done on behalf of President Trump and everything that he wants to see accomplished to get our military back to the place that it needs to be, destroying our enemies, focusing on the mission, not focusing on the woke craziness that the liberal left is trying to move forward.
Yeah. We're talking obviously about military operations. That's near and dear to your heart. In fact, introducing a bill that actually has to do with members of the service whose homes are impacted by squatters, which we've covered stories having to do with squatters. They're very difficult to expel from homes, although owners want them gone. Is this seriously a problem for those who are overseas serving our country and they come home to discover someone else has taken over their residence?